week, okay? And a feeling, just something about the feeling of what you might have experienced, what it was like to just give a feeling about what you want government to do, or what it was like giving your epitaph. Okay, that's all. Okay, we have Casey who has to leave early, and then Tony's requested to be second. Okay, let's review first of all about the words. Now let me go back over it with you what we were looking for about the word. I gave you a word, and I wanted you for 2 weeks to create that word in your life. And I wanted you to say the word, feel the word, experience the word, and make that word part of you, so that when you gave the presentation tonight, you could truly get into what the word was saying. And so that's all that you had to do. Nothing else. Just what the word did for you for 2 weeks and what it was all about. Okay? Okay, Casey, are you ready? Yep.
Did you give a due date for when we were going to meet with you?
I didn't bring my notes. I'll announce that next week, and we'll do the summaries also. Okay?
Do you want us to turn this into you, Brenda?
Nope. We'll just meet together with it. You'll bring it that day. We meet on a one-on-one.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I said something.
Alright, my word was sincerity, and I decided in order to incorporate sincerity in my life, I had to define it. And so I looked it up in Webster's, and in Webster's dictionary it says, it is a quality or state of being sincere, on its honesty, genuineness, good, faith. And another definition they gave is without deceit, pretense, or hypocrisy, truthful, straightforward, honest. And the third definition was being the same in actual character as in outward appearance, genuine, real, uninjured, and whole. And so I thought, well, I've got to incorporate this into my life. And so I started asking people, like, what was the first thing that came to their minds when I asked them about sincerity? And they go, well, the first thing that comes to my mind is honesty. It's being honest with yourself and being honest with others and honest in your relationships. And that came up over and over again more than anything else. And I thought about how in the Book of Mormon where we've been studying, how they talk about the Nephites and how with flattery and that sort of thing. And my mom told me a story about a kid at school who is shorter than me and really skinny and stuff, and the football coaches told him that if he trains with the football team in their football class, then he'll get to play and all this stuff. And he's been trying to talk the kid out of taking seminary and everything, and it's just a bunch of flattery because there's no way the kid's ever going to be able to go anywhere in football because he's too small. And so I thought about how flattery doesn't do any good. And someone commented to me that, you know, I used to think of sincere, you know, oh, he's a really sincere person. It's not that much of a comment. But if you think of the opposite, then it is a really good compliment to give to someone because you're not flattering and you're not dishonest. And what I experienced with this word is that I found that in my relationships with my friends and stuff, I have really deep, honest relationships, and I have on-the-surface relationships that aren't quite as honest. And I found that I won't tell them a lot about me, and so they don't know the whole truth, which in the church is defined as not being completely honest. And so I found that it's hard to be sincere in relationships sometimes, but in your thoughts and your actions towards people, it's a lot easier and it's very important. And I found that people who are fake and who are just like, ah, all the time aren't very sincere, and it's nice to be around. And so I decided that through using this word, I would try to be more sincere with people and to be more honest with myself and with others. Oh, do I get my assignment for next week?
And next week, I'll just hand you a slip of paper, and then that's what you'll get on.
Oh, it's like impromptu?
It is.
Okay. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. See you later.
go second this time because I always go last, and I have to sit there and let my palms sweat and be nervous. But the topic that I had to speak on gave me a lot of opportunity to just relax and think about a lot of things in my life. I was given the word harmony, and when I think about harmony, I always thought of harmony as music. And I decided, well, how can I learn about harmony? Maybe I'll look into other people's lives, I'll ask them questions and see what they feel harmony is. So I began to ask, what is harmony to the people around me? And I got responses such as, harmony is a soft sound of the flute in the summer air. And I thought, wow, that's pretty harmonic. And then I got harmony is a peace and serenity, and harmony is when everything in your life is flowing in the way that you want it to. I don't think I really understood what harmony was until I began to dissect the word. That's how I understand everything. I have to dissect it down into different parts, and after I dissect it, then I can say, hey, that's what that means, and that's what that means. And I looked up the word harmony, and in the Greek it's harmonia. Sounds pretty Spanish, but what it meant was a joining, okay, or coming together, and it meant concord or concord and music. And I thought about each of these words, and they're all interrelated, and they mean something to one another. And I wanted to start talking about joining. Obviously, throughout life, we're joined to many different things. We're joined to our families, and we're joined to our friends, business associates. And then later on in our life, we go right back to family again. And our job in life is to find those things to join ourselves with. It's going to bring the most happiness to us. It's going to elevate us as a person. And I thought about how much I'm sure God wants us to bring ourselves together with people that are going to elevate our personalities. And as I was looking through this, I realized that in order for us to elevate, we have to make the best of what we have when we have it, with each person that we come in contact with. That's where concord came into the picture, and it really went into unity with harmony, in the fact that concord means an agreement, okay, or accord. One day I was reading a book that I've really enjoyed. It's by C.S. Lewis. It's called The Screwtape Letters. And a profound thought came to me concerning my topic and the necessity of accord and agreement with our emotional self inside. Now, to understand the passage that I'm going to read, you have to understand a little bit about what the book is about. Okay. On the onset, I could just say that if you were looking at the book from the outside, you would say, well, it's a book about devils. Okay. Because really it is a book about devils, but at the same time as you're learning about devils, you're learning about the other side of life, the side of life that God would have us follow. The book is a series of letters written by a master devil. He calls himself the head of the state. Okay, his name is Screwtape, and he's writing to his little apprentice devil, and his name is Wormwood. And throughout this book, Screwtape is giving Wormwood the plans so that he can overcome his mortal victim. Okay, because in the book, every person has got a devil assigned to him. And as I read this passage, I want you to think about the idea of emotional thought as being important for harmony in our lives. Screwtape begins by talking about God, and he says, "Remember, he is not like you, a pure spirit," speaking to Wormwood, "never having been a human. Oh, that abominable advantage of the enemies. You don't realize how enslaved they are to the pressure of the ordinary. I once had a patient, a sound atheist, who used to read in the British Museum. One day, as he sat reading, I saw a train of thought in his mind beginning to go the wrong way. The enemy, of course, was at his elbow in a moment. Before I knew where I was, I saw my 20 years' work beginning to totter. If I'd lost my head and begun to attempt to a defense by argument, I should have been undone. But I was not such a fool. I stuck instantly at the part of the man which I had best under my control and suggested that it was just about time he had some lunch. The enemy presumably made the counter-suggestion. You know how you can never quite overhear what he really says to them. That this was more important than lunch. At least I think that must have been his line. For when I said, quite in fact too important to tackle at the end of the morning, the patient brightened up considerably, and by the time I added, much better come back at lunch and go on with a fresh mind, he was already halfway to the door. Once he was in the street, the battle was won. I showed him a newsboy shouting the midday paper and a number 73 bus going by, and before he reached the bottom of the steps, I had got him into an unalterable conviction that whatever odd ideas might come into a man's head when he was shut up alone with his books, a healthy dose of real life, by which Screwtape was meaning the bus and the newsboy, was enough to show him that all that sort of thing just couldn't be true. He knew he had had a narrow escape, and in later years was fond of talking about that inarticulate sense for actuality, which is our ultimate safeguard against the aberrations of mere logic. He is now safe in our Father's house. As I read that, it was obvious that Screwtape's success came from a disruption of thought that the atheist was apparently beginning to ponder upon the things of God. As I closed the book up for the night, a thought really came into my mind, and I wrote it down as I thought it. And it came as this: harmony is when the pure thoughts come into agreement in accordance with the Spirit of God to produce a dynamic concept of worth in which to further the progress of the individual. I sat and pondered, and I thought about this and how everything we do finds its roots in our mental self. That everything that we begin to undertake always has to have a beginning in our thoughts. And without this, we're incapable really of joining anybody else in order to create harmony. The word concord also signifies peace and friendship. With our thoughts in harmony with God, we can act in moral, honest, and pure harmony with our fellow associates, friends, and most importantly, our families. Words of admonition and reward are the result of this harmony. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. The last word of meaning was music. The dictionary states that harmony is the blending of simultaneous sounds of different pitch or quality. And these sounds are employed to create a harmonic masterpiece. As I thought about the harmonic masterpieces that have been created, I was taken back to the idea that our society is a lot of different people that all contribute to the outcome. If we learn to harmonize our lives in accord with God through peace and friendship, proceeding from pure hearts, our society will be the most beautiful harmonic masterpiece of all. Thanks.
Okay, Nelly, it's your turn.
Let me fix your mic here.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, my word is integrity, and I know that's a really original way to start off a speech, but everybody, when I've asked them about integrity, they've all said, oh, that's easy. Don't you think that's really easy? But for me, integrity has always been one of those words that you hear the definition of, and you know when you're in a young women's lesson or in a Relief Society lesson, but that you forget when you get out of there, and you're just like, integrity, I know what that means, but I can't think of, and it was always really hard for me to incorporate in my life. And so the first thing I did was I defined it. And it said for Webster, in Webster's dictionary, it says moral soundness, probity. And I thought, probity, okay, what is that? And so I looked up probity, and it said scrupulous honesty. And then scrupulous means strictly honest and adhering to moral principles. And so integrity, I guess, is being morally sound, being honest, being able to stick to your principles, not because that's what's right or what you've been taught, but because you know it's right and because you want to live that way.
And I was kind of lucky because my dad and my brother were in town this weekend, and my brother just got off his mission, and there's a standing joke in our family that returned missionaries always think they know everything. And so he gave me a lot of words of wisdom, and my dad did too, and he said, integrity is kind of something today that you yourself can't see in yourself, but that other people see in you. And whether or not you have integrity is usually somebody else's interpretation of you. And it has to do more with how people see you, and it's getting more and more rare to find somebody who has integrity, and who is willing to be honest and morally straightforward and just adhering to all the moral principles. It's harder and harder to find those kind of people in these days. I have a poem that I found, and it says, integrity is a word so seldom understood. Integrity is doing all that's right and good. It's waking up to each new day and knowing that the words I say are true. It's holding to the iron rod and knowing all that I've been taught I'll do. It's listening to the still small voice whenever I must make a choice. It's answering with an honest soul that I am true and clean and whole. Integrity, a word so few have come to know. Integrity is heaven's way to live and grow. It's having strength to do my best, though I may have to face the test alone. It's living for eternity by honoring those within my earthly home. It's knowing that our Father is just, and I must earn his sacred trust. It's guarding all I do and say, that I may live with him someday. The love he has shown for me keeps me in the narrow way, and there in his love I seem to find the strength to overcome, to say, thy will be done. To know integrity will bring me peace of mind. There's a lot of things that I could say to you, and a lot of little stories that I found on integrity, but I don't think that's really important. I think that it's more important to just try to live to where you know that you're doing what's right, but don't do it because somebody is telling you, or your parents have always said, do this, do that, do that. Don't do it because it's something that you've been taught, but do it because it's something that you want to do, and something that you just feel is right, and it's your way of living. And just as a last thought, I've always thought this was a neat quote, and it says, integrity is having the moral courage to make one's actions consistent with one's knowledge of right and wrong. We should live because we know that having integrity is good, and being honest and morally straightforward, and living so that people who see you recognize that quality in you. I never really thought about integrity that much until these past few weeks, and I hope that people, when they meet me and see me and come in contact with me, can think of me as having integrity and knowing what I want, knowing what I stand for, and knowing that I stand for it because that's what I believe and that's what I want to do.
Okay, I think Jenny's next. And you guys don't forget open body position, let's support each other.
This past 2 weeks, I've learned a lot about diligence and what a difference diligence can make in a person's life. First of all, I had some misconceptions about what diligence was. I thought it was just, working hard and being diligent about doing stuff. But there's a lot more to diligence than that simple definition. Diligence is characterized by steady, earnest, and energetic application and effort. Some synonyms for diligence are carefulness, vigor, attention, keenness, earnestness, briskness, alertness, quickness, industry, perseverance, heed, intensity, and painstaking attention to details. Some of the opposites, the antonyms of diligence, are indifference, disregard, unconcern, sloth, laziness, dullness, and apathy. Now, there have been two people particularly that I have recognized as exemplifying exceptional diligence just these past 2 weeks. One of them is my best friend, and he tries diligently to live the best life he can and to try and make a difference in each person's life he comes in contact with. Not a person will walk by him that he doesn't say, "Hi, how have you been?" And he remembers people's names. And I've seen him sometimes with our word directory going over and over the pictures so that he won't get people's names wrong. And this careful attention to detail makes such a difference in people's lives. Anyone in our ward, if they see him there, wow, there's Brent Hoppa. I know he's going to say hi to me. This just makes my day great. And his diligence has turned him from being a person of, ordinariness to a person of exceptional influence on our entire ward. Another person that I have noticed that has exemplified diligence was Brenda Butterfield. After class last time, I went to hear my best friend's speech in his speech class, and it was there that I first recognized what a difference Brenda has made for us. She sat down and decided she was going to teach this class, and she had some definite objectives and some definite goals in mind. She wanted for us to be able to relax and enjoy each other and enjoy the speaking experience. She wanted us to learn to speak from our hearts, and she wanted us to walk away from this having it been a good experience for us. When I went to Brent's class, no one paid any attention. No one was listening to each other. They sat there and they were reading over their notes, just concerned with how their speech was going to go. When the people got up, they were nervous. Their legs would shake. They would start laughing and have to restart. After the class, I saw one of the girls go out in tears because she felt she had failed. And I know that Brent, who is incredibly prepared in everything that he does, he is terrified to go to that class because there's so much pressure and so much stress, and he's not really learning anything. And the quality of their speeches is much poorer than ours is. I don't like to make the judgment, but you can feel the heart from this class. And the other class, they're there to get the grade. We're here to be with each other. Christ himself was also a very diligent person, obviously, and he instructed all of us to diligently seek after good things and to seek to become better people and to diligently strive to be the best people that we could be. He obviously believes that it is important to be diligent. When we stop and think about the people in our lives and think about the people who have had influence on your life, they have been diligent in the things they have tried to do. They either work diligently at work with you, or your parents were diligent in their care for you. I mean, it takes a lot of effort and earnestness and industry for a mother to make a meal 3 times a day for people that don't appreciate it, that don't take time to say, hey Mom, thanks, you're great. Thanks for the meal, that was great. It takes a lot of effort to pick up after people. Do parents ever really get our thanks? But think of the diligence they put into making our life a better life. In closing, I'd like to say that I really, truly appreciate the diligence that I have noticed in people's lives. And I'd like to let Brenda know how much I think she has succeeded in this class. She has kept it simple. We haven't had a lot of busy work. In fact, we've had no busy work. Everything we've ever done has been directly related to public speaking. We have learned to be unselfish listeners. We have learned to be unselfish in our relationships and to relate from the heart. And we have learned how to truly succeed in our lives. We have learned not only to speak publicly, but to relate and to live our lives with more earnestness and more diligence, and to become happier, more Christ-like people. And I'd like to thank Brenda and Brent and everyone else who has influenced my life with their diligence.
How about Robbie?
How many have read this or heard it?
What's it called?
Love You Forever.
Are you going to read it to us?
I sure am. The reason I asked because I have pictures here and I want somebody to show them for me.
Right
As you probably guessed, mine's on love. And, I was kind of excited because it's a big word and you can put a lot into it. Not yet. Gosh, we can go on forever about love. To me, love is an action word. It's a verb. It takes an act of being and doing. And when I thought of love, I heard this in a class, a family science class that I had here. And it just really touched everyone in the class, touched me in a sense of, okay. I don't know if I can even get through it. When I thought of love, this popped in mind, and I said, this is perfect, and I want to share it. Because I love this class. And as you can tell, it's a child's story about a mother and a child. The mother held her new baby and very slowly rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she held him, she sang, I love you forever, I'll like you for always. As long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. The baby grew. He grew, and he grew, and he grew. He grew until he was 2 years old, and he ran all around the house. He pulled all the books off the shelves. He pulled all the food out of the refrigerator, and he took his mother's wash and flushed it down the toilet. Sometimes his mother would say, this kid is driving me crazy. But at night, when that 2-year-old was quiet, she opened the door to his room, crawled across the floor, looked up over the side of the bed, and if he was really asleep, she picked him up and rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. While she rocked him, she sang, I love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I'm living, my baby you'll be. The little boy grew. He grew, and he grew, and he grew. He grew until he was 9 years old, and he never wanted to come home for dinner. He never wanted to take a bath, and when Grandma visited, he always said bad words. Sometimes his mother wanted to sell him to the zoo. But at night, when he was asleep, the mother quietly opened the door to his room, crawled across the floor, and looked up over the side of the bed. If he was really asleep, she picked up that 9-year-old boy and rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, I love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I am living, my baby you'll be. The boy grew. He grew, and he grew. He grew until he was a teenager. He had strange friends, and he wore strange clothes, and he listened to strange music. Sometimes the mother felt like she was in a zoo. But at nighttime, when that teenager was asleep, the mother opened the door to his room, crawled across the floor, and looked up over the side of the bed. If he was really asleep, she picked up the great big boy and rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. While she rocked him, she sang, I love you forever, I'll like you for always. As long as I am living, my baby you'll be. That teenager grew. He grew, and he grew, he grew. He grew until he was a grown-up man. He left home and got a house across town. But sometimes on dark nights, the mother got into her car and drove across town. If all the lights in her son's house were out, she opened his bedroom window, crawled across the floor, and looked up over the side of his bed. If that great big man was really asleep, she picked him up and rocked him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while she rocked him, she sang, I'll love you for always, I'll like you, I love you forever, I'll like you for always, as long as I am living, my baby you'll be. Well, that mother, she got older. She got older and older and older. One day she called up her son and said, you'd better come see me because I'm very old and sick. So her son came to see her. When he came in the door, she tried to sing the song. She sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always." But she couldn't finish because she was too old and sick. The son went to his mother. He picked her up and rocked her back and forth, back and forth, and back and forth. And he sang this song, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always. As long as I am living, my mommy will be." When the son came home that night, he stood for a long time at the top of the stairs. Then he went into the room where his very new baby daughter was sleeping. He picked her up in his arms and very slowly rocked her back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And while he rocked her, he sang, "I'll love you forever, I'll like you for always. As long as I am living, my baby will be." It's kind of a, does it kind of like a silly way, you know, in reality, mom's not going to come climb up your window and sneak in and rock you, but it shows a true love, an unselfish love that our parents have for us, and that our Heavenly Father especially has for us, an unconditional love. And this is how I've experienced it, and I think I've read it so many times today and have cried so much that I'm able to handle it better now. But the last time I read it to a friend, and we just started laughing because I just could not finish it. I was just suffering. To me, it's the definition of true love.
It's Kristine's turn.
The word joy means something different to each individual. And I would like to share with you what this word, or I should say what this emotion, has meant in my life. To me, joy comes from the things which are intangible. It is a feeling like no other that is hard to put into words. It's different from happiness, which is so often acquired through materialistic values. Due to the events of the past year and a half or so, I've experienced joy to a greater extent, and I have grown from it, and I have been strengthened by it. A year ago from last Saturday, April 6th, my family and I were baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Membership in the church has brought true joy into my life, a kind of joy I have never experienced before, or at least not to such a great extent. More specifically, this joy has come through the things I have been taught about the gospel. The sister missionaries taught my family for 8 months, and when everything fell into place, when I knew for myself, and when I realized how lucky I was to have that, the joy that I felt is almost indescribable. The joy that I feel today comes from having my perceptions of family sharpened and given an eternal perspective. It comes from my friendship with the 2 special sister missionaries that taught us. They're off their missions now, and they're both finishing their last year at BYU. I find joy in being able to spend time together and in continuing to strengthen that bond that exists between us. The love and gratitude that I feel for them is eternal, and like joy itself, it's hard to accurately put into words. I've only begun to name examples, but as you can see, the greatest joy in my life has been the gospel and those things that relate to it and have resulted from it. Yes, I have found happiness, but even greater, I have experienced joy, true joy, as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Kristy.
What is peace? When I first thought about this, I didn't know quite what to think. I thought it was impossible. Could we really have peace there? Maybe it was just an ideal state. Maybe it was something we just strove to achieve. After all, how could there be peace when there's opposition in all things, when there's differing opinions between all of us? But then I began thinking about it in another way. You know, not the global sense, not the we're marching for peace sense. Maybe we can never have political peace. Maybe we can never have social peace because of the different cultures in the world, because of prejudice, because of ignorance. But I think it's possible for all of us to have inner peace. Inner peace is very hard to achieve. I'm sure everyone's been striving for it, and there's no special formula for it. But I thought of 3 certain aspects of our lives that really help us to add to the inner peace that we can feel. First, I think the most important is to like ourselves. And if we really get to know what we're all about, if we can really love ourselves, then we can feel inner peace because we can rely on ourselves. The only way you can love other people is if you love yourself. Second, we're all human and we need interaction with others, and that's what we need friends and family for. We need to give of ourselves and establish strong relationships, and we really need to feel a sense of caring for those that we're giving ourselves to. Strong, lasting relationships with others helps us gain inner peace. No matter how much we love ourselves, we need reassurance in everything. I don't know, I'm sure everyone's different. They have their own makeup of what they like and what they don't like. Some people like to be more alone, but I myself love to be with other people. I can be alone maybe 5% of the time, but I like to be with other people, except when I'm sleeping, of course. And the last well, not eventually, but I'm not ready. The last important goal, or the last important key to inner peace, I think, is goals. I think if we have some kind of goal in mind, it doesn't matter what it is, if it has to do with your job, if it has to do with school, if it has to do with a relationship, it has to do with learning how to water ski. You know, no matter what the goal is, I think that having a goal, something in your life that you're doing, if you just stay at a standstill, you're not gonna achieve anything. You're not gonna, if you're not achieving, if you're not learning, if you're not growing somehow, you're not gonna have inner peace. Some people have the goal of getting a college degree. Some people have a goal of a promotion. Some people, this summer I want to learn how to water ski. Too bad Casey's not here. But I don't know how to. I've been once and I did it all right, but I want to beat my brother this summer. No goal is too trivial if it's important to you. I think that if you think about it, all the things in your lives can fit into those 3 areas, no matter what it is. Either a goal, a hobby, your work, school, relationships with other people, and then what goes on with you inside and learning about yourself. And I think that with inner peace, we can all become better people.
In the last 2 weeks, I can honestly say they've been the best 2 weeks of my life in the area of humility. I've had so many actions in the last 2 weeks and so many things happen to me that have humbled me. And I think that's why it's such a shame my word is gratitude. I'd like to begin my talk by expressing my gratitude for everyone, all the friends I've made here. I know that I don't get to see any of you as much as I'd like to, but I'd like everyone to know that there's a strong sense of stability in knowing that you do have friends, whether you see them or not, and I think that's the area where it's most important. And when I look back, there's so many friends that I see all the time that it just doesn't matter, but to know that you have people that you can go to is what's important, and that's what true friendship is, and I'm really grateful for that. And I want to express gratitude to Brenda for all that she's done for me as a counselor and as a friend, and I really appreciate that. Okay. As for gratitude, that's something that for me was hard to think about, to talk about in a speech type of form. But the first thing I thought about was why Brenda gave me the word gratitude, because I remember someone saying, pick words that have something to do with your personality. So I was like, well, what did I do wrong? You know, it's like, what wasn't I showing gratitude for? But I realized that that's not why Brenda gave it to me. It was because that she had to give me something so it appeared that I wasn't perfect. And this was just as good as good as anything else. And I mean, just because I'm Brenda's favorite and I had an A locked up in the class, doesn't mean that I can tell everyone. So, well, off the camera, I'm giving a talk on humility later. Okay, I felt like over the time that I really thought about gratitude, there were three aspects that are really important. Okay, one is actions. Through works, we express our gratitude, and through words, we express our gratitude. But there's one main focus, there's one thing behind those two things that are most important, and that's your thoughts. And I'd like to express a humility experience this last 2 weeks that really relate to gratitude. There's someone I really care a lot about, and that person made me very angry over these last 2 days. And that person felt like they couldn't come to me until I had overcome the anger, and that they could actually talk to me on that subject. Well, I asked that person out to dinner, and in the hopes of them thinking that I had overcome this. And at that time, an apology was given. But because I was just displaying the actions, but the anger thoughts were still there, I could not be grateful for that apology, which I had been looking for and really hoping for. So when that apology came, I wasn't grateful for it because the anger still lingered. Whereas if I had overcome the thoughts and to have the right frame of mind when I approached the situation, it would have given me the ability to be grateful for that. Okay, because thinking good things about other people is the first step toward doing good things for other people. When we try and do what's right, when we try and do what's right, and our thoughts contradict our actions, not only are we not sincere, but we cannot be truly grateful for the actions of others when our thoughts do not motivate us to do good for others. I'd like to also say that the thing I learned that was really important when I thought of the word gratitude was there are so many areas that we never even think of being grateful for. And I think it's sad that was the last thing I thought of in all the time preparing, was that there are so many areas that you just never think of. I think of, just think of food right off the bat. I came up in a background where so many people didn't have food, but yet when I have food, I think it's something that should be there or that belongs there, but it's not. And I just like to suggest today that all of us, we're so lucky. And we can never reach our true and greatest potential if we do not recognize and become grateful for all of this that we have.
I think it's Rochelle's turn.
Okay, compassion as a word. When I started to think of a definition, I couldn't think of just one word. Instead, I thought of a lot of synonyms that went with it, such as love and sacrifice and service. And when I was listening to conference this last weekend, President Monson's talk on Sunday morning was just compassion to a T, and I was like writing things down. But one of his favorite quotes that I thought was on service, and he said that it's when you do something for someone else that they couldn't do for themselves. And so I was thinking how that was related to compassion. I was thinking of examples of someone who was compassionate, and I thought that Christ was probably the foremost example of this, and so I have a favorite parable that I'd like to share with you. One day when I really understood what Jesus Christ had done for me, I invited him to come into the house of my heart, and as soon as I invited him, he came without hesitation. And when he was there, he filled the house with joy, and I wanted to run and tell the neighbors about my guest and how wonderful it was to have him there. When everything was settled, I said, I hope you will stay and feel perfectly at home here. And he said, I'm sure I will. And now since we are new friends, why don't you show me around? I would like very much to see the library in the house of your heart. And so I did. I showed him the library, filled with everything I'd ever seen or heard, the music, the Sunday school lessons, but I wish that more scriptures and church books were really mine on the shelf, and he agreed, and we decided to work on that. Next we went to the dining room, which was very large, because it was my room of appetites and desires. I told him I was always hungry and never satisfied, and he told me that that I was eating the wrong things. Then we went to the workshop. We saw all the talents and skills I had, but we saw how I hadn't produced much, and so he showed me how to use my tools. Then we went to the drawing room, which was a small, quiet, peaceful place in my heart, and he said he wanted to meet me there often, and I told him we would. And we did for a while, and then I forgot, and I got busy. And one day as I was leaving the house, I noticed him standing at the doorway, and I felt so sad that I had neglected my guest, and so I asked him what I could do for him, and he sent me to do his work, and I experienced great joy representing him. And then one day he said, "There's a peculiar odor in this house, and it's coming from that locked closet. And although you've let me go into every room in the house, that one door has always been locked, and you have never let me in." Now that made me mad. I had let him into every room in my house. I ran, I did his errands, I let him use my money, and now he wanted to look in my secret closet. So I said, "I have the key, and I will not let you in the closet. It's only 2 feet by 4 feet. The rest of my house is large enough and perfectly presentable, so it shouldn't make any difference." And he said, "I cannot stay in this house if you do not give me the key." And so he left. Oh, I was sad, and great despair and gloom and depression came over me, because you see, once having him as a guest in my house, life was unbearable without him. So I went and tearfully pleaded with him and begged him, "Come back, and I will give you the key to the closet, and I will withhold nothing from you. I cannot stand to live without you." And so I gave him the key, and he opened it. And then quickly and efficiently, he cleaned out those things that were dead and rotten, that I wanted to feel were not there, and I wanted to ignore. He cleaned the whole closet out, fumigated it, painted it. He made it perfectly acceptable. Afterwards, I said, "I'm so ashamed that you know it was in my closet." And he said, "Why? I see only a house that is totally acceptable to me." And then I knew why I loved him so, and why, of all my biggest brothers, only this one could love me enough to clean out my closet. And then he said, "You know, I've cleaned out so many closets, but it's a strange thing. I can never remember afterwards what was in them." And so I'd like to add to President Monson's definition of service to say that it is to do something for someone that they can't do for themselves, and then to do it with compassion.
What do you think of when you think of tranquility? When I first picked this word, the first thing that came to mind to me was water trickling on rocks, and I could hear noises, I could hear sounds, and music is the next thing I thought of. And this song means something to me, and that's why I thought I'd play it while I spoke today, so you can feel how I feel when I feel tranquil. But what I did is I went around to people that I knew and asked them what the first thing they thought of when I thought of tranquility, and I got a very wide range of things. Some of my roommates told me Sunday afternoons, a quiet house to lay around, to read, soft church music and relaxing. Another one said peace, of knowing someone loves you, walking down a beach at sunset with waves gently coming in, slight cooling, quiet birds, soft sounded trees, and the waves. Another roommate said white, the celestial kingdom, when I was first baptized and received the Holy Ghost, an overwhelming peace, at one with myself and with Heavenly Father. Another roommate said the ocean, vacation, Saturdays, the forest, birds, noises, wind, walking through the forest and seeing the green. A guy I asked told me being at peace with himself and with the world, and everything orders around him. There was no worries, you're doing what's right, the beach, the palm trees, sunshine kicking back, wind, waves, clear blue, the sky, the water. I thought of all these things, and I thought about what it meant to me. I looked it up in the dictionary, and this is how it describes tranquility. It's the quality or state of being tranquil, calmness and serenity. I looked up calmness, and it said tranquil implies a more intrinsic or permanent peace and quiet than calm. Intrinsic, when I looked it up, is belonging to the real nature of the thing, not dependent on external circumstances. And that meant a lot to me, because I know that tranquility is not something you can seek from other people and from what you learn from others. It's something you have to find from inside yourself. And I think the most important thing is how
how you do feel. And this past summer when I went to Israel, I really think that's where I found myself and where I found my importance in life. And it wasn't just a testimony I gained, and I did become at peace with God and learn a lot of things that I knew were right, but it was also something inside of myself that I was at peace with myself and with others. And the friendships I made there were so important to me, and I had a reunion last Friday night with my friends, and the relationships I made are so deep and so meaningful to me. Here's a picture of me at the Sea of Galilee. This is the place where I was one night, and I just went out when everyone was asleep, and I just sat in the grass, and I prayed, and I thought, and I decided what I wanted in my life, and it's helped me so much, and that's where I find the peace and tranquility in my life. And these are some of my friends at the beach that I was with, and I don't know, these things are really important to me. You can pass these around if you want to see them. But to sum up, when I feel about tranquility, I found my own definition for tranquility, and this I feel really covers everything there is to say about it. Number one, it's to be at peace with yourself. Number two, to be at peace with others. And number three, to be at peace with God. And if you have these three, you will have tranquility.
Jeffrey.
If that was on before I went, I would have been a lot more relaxed.
Okay, we need to disturb the room the way it is. And so, we're going to be sitting on the floor, so if you can like push chairs back and help me move this back. You'd be in a circle. Hi, Mom.
A complete circle?
Huh?
Okay, complete. Okay, yeah. Come on, you guys, complete circle.
This is going to be on videotape, Jeff. I'm just kidding. Really? The car alarms going to go off. It seems like you've done this with candles. That smile on his face.
Many happy memories.
And it's so tired.
Brings back non-member members.
Do we need this like near? I want to turn off the light.
You sure can. Turn on the dark.
There's the turkey. This is not a seance.
No, I don't. But it sounds fun. Yeah.
Bring that closer. You bring that closer. Okay. We all comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
Normal, everyday people put me to sleep. The main purpose of life is to be happy, have fun, stray from the norm. God said, men are that they might have joy. Now, I don't know any girls named Joy. But what's in a name? I mean, names aren't that important. Now, you're probably all asking yourselves, why are we sitting here on the floor? And the main reason is, I just want to do something different, get away from the structure of the classroom, get away from the normal. My word today is creativity. And I wanted to use a little bit of it in the way I presented it so that you would feel a little bit of the creativity in the class, and that there can be more life than just following the structure of institutions and organizations. What I have here is to kind of personalize creativity with all of us. Let's talk about creative dating.
All right.
And here I have what's called Jeffrey's Creative Dating Core Ideas. And the reason why I say they're just core ideas is because when you're creative, no one can tell you what to do. There's just different things that can stimulate your own mind and what you want to accomplish with a certain person. And so these are just ideas that might, as you read them and maybe can talk about some different experiences that you've had, maybe it will stimulate some different ideas. Just to go over them a little bit is a candlelight dinner, kind of like we're doing now. I just jotted down some ideas that are kind of fun. Doing it on a rooftop is fun. Or on a football field. Kidnapping, anything goes there. I'm sure a lot of people have experienced that in high school especially. Balloon racing, number 3, is something a friend of mine shared with me. It's where you have a bunch of couples together, and they all have 5 or 6 balloons, and they're all blown up. And in each balloon, there's a different place to go. And they all have the same places for each couple. And so whatever balloon you pop, you go to that area, you go to that like restaurant, and you eat what's there, what's on the menu, or what's on the little card. And you go to all these different places, you eat what you're supposed to do, you do the activity you're supposed to do, and you meet back, and like the winner gets a prize. That's kind of fun for a group activity. Mountain biking. The thing about mountain biking can be really fun, but to be a little bit more creative than just riding a bike. Take a backpack with some champagne glasses, a picnic lunch, bike up to where you can see the city, or just a really beautiful area of the canyon, and sit down and have lunch with some champagne glasses. That's always fun. The girls really enjoy that. Number 5 is canyon date, and there's a whole bunch of different things you can do. I'm sure a lot of you have done it where you've taken a VCR and generator and have a campfire and make s'mores, or just go up and have a barbecue in the canyon. That's fun. Camping is fun. Separate sleeping bags, though, until you're married. Number 7 is what I call the switcheroo. And this is what some friends of mine did just a couple months ago. And this is where we took the girls jacuzzing first off, and girls have the horror that you can get pregnant in the jacuzzi. It was not. We went to jacuzzing, pulled out some champagne glasses, and had a little drink and some crackers and cheese. And then we went back in the apartment to change. While the girls were changing, us guys took off and left clue number 1 for the girls. They had no idea where we went. And so they were off on this little scavenger hunt. Meanwhile, while they were on the scavenger hunt, we went back to one of our apartments and cooked dinner. We dressed up in dresses and the full-on figure and dinner for the girls. And while they were on their scavenger hunt, they ended up at another apartment, and they had to get dressed up in men's clothes, ties and full suits and different things. And so they ended up at the last apartment where we were at, and they were all dressed up like girls and talking giddy and giggling and cooking them dinner. They sat down and we treated them like the man and just cooked them the dinner and some desserts, and that was a lot of fun. The girls really liked that. Night skiing, jacuzzi afterwards was just an idea. Night skiing is really fun, different date. Also, you don't have to be that good to go night skiing because there's only a couple of hills that are open, usually the bunnies. Dinner or movie, I said it's always a good idea. The girls love to be wine and dined. Not that dinner and movie is wine and dine, but just take them to a nice place to eat. I think that's always a safe bet. And then theme dates, polyester promenades. All different polyester. One time we had a group of about 60 people, and it was F dudes and F chicks night at the hockey game. And it was a bikini contest hockey game during halftime. And so we all just like does everyone know what F dudes and F chicks are? In other words, Hessians, heavy metalers, that type of thing. And just totally go all out and dressing like that. About 60 of us went to the hockey game, hung out in just one big section of the hockey game. acted bad. And the main point of my talk that I wanted to bring across is it's not really so much the idea of the day, like what you go and do. It's just the finer touches, and that's what I put at the bottom. Just like the little things, like little rows, or just a little bit different from the norm. And just straighten out. That's what makes something creative. And that's how we can be creative in our lives and in dating.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
I'll look
One,
at the commercial.
2, 3.
Yeah.
So funny.
Like this.
Just to clarify, girls, you can get pregnant this weekend. I think for people to come back to Jeffrey going, what happened? Cover all the bases there. Cover all the bases, so no one gets hurt.
Is there somebody watching us through that videotape? I mean, through that video camera?
Okay,
It's just us.
Good?
Hey, I think it's Kristin. Okay, I need our audio visual now.
Actually, I have to put the
Okay,
camera on.
I want you to pass these out.
I don't get it by the camera.
No, you don't, but you can pass them out. Okay, I wanted to have you guys have something that would make you remember my word. And and while you're eating them, I want you to listen to what I'm going to say. Okay. Contentment is like a freshly baked cookie. There's all kinds of ingredients that go into it to make it into that one complete, whole, round cookie. And when I got my word contentment, I immediately went home and I was asking my roommates, and I had a friend over for dinner, and I asked him what he thought contentment was. And he says, well, contentment is something, I'd like you to tell me what contentment is, because it's something I've really struggled with. When I was, thank you. They're all the same size. My friend said that when he was on his mission, contentment was something he really struggled with, because he never knew exactly what contentment was. Was it right to feel content? Was it wrong to feel content? When he would go to a Zone Leaders Conference, they would tell him, you're doing enough, that's fine, just try your hardest, be happy with what you're doing. And he'd go next month, and they'd tell him, you're not doing enough, you have to do more, And so he struggled off with what does the Lord expect of him. And then I had my roommates tell me, well, contentment is eating chocolate chip cookies, and contentment, they told me all these different things. So I decided I had to come up with my own definition of contentment, because I was just struggling with all these people telling me what contentment was. And I decided that contentment to me is a feeling of completeness. It's a feeling of satisfaction, and it's not something that is persevering. It's not like joy or lasting happiness. It's something that you can feel moment to moment. And it's tranquility, it's peace, it's happiness. And I made up, as I went throughout these 2 weeks, I made a list of the times when I was feeling content, or when I could say, I'm feeling content. And I feel, so this is my list that I made. I feel content when I go to work at 7 in the morning, and Jenny and I walk together. She has a Spanish class. And at 7 in the morning, there is nobody out on the streets. It is completely quiet. The sun hasn't risen yet. It's just all light. And it's just a time to just reflect on everything. It's a really great feeling. And then I feel content when I'm walking home from class, and it's dusky, and you can look up and you see the mountains are darker, and the sky is an even darker color.
And I feel content when I wake up on Saturday mornings and the sun is streaming in through my windows. I feel content when I eat a chocolate milkshake. I feel content when I do the dishes for my roommates. I feel content when I accomplish something I set out to do. Each day or each week I make a list of things I have to do that week. And it feels so good when you can go and cross that off and say, okay, I accomplished that this week. And I feel content when I can cross it off my list. I feel content when I cook something. I like cooking a lot, and it makes me content to cook for other people. I feel content when I just get to spend time with my roommates, and we'll just like sit there laughing about just dumb things, and we just spend time together, and we're all in harmony together. I feel content when I read my scriptures. I feel content when I go to the mall and I go shopping and I get to buy new things. I feel content when I do well on a test. I feel content when I come out of speech class. It's not the better, but I have a content feeling when I come out of my speech class and I feel that I've done well on a speech. I've really been able to get a message across. I feel content when I talk to my family. I feel content when I drive to Salt Lake at night. It's a great feeling. I don't know if you've done that, but I just feel content when I do that. And I decided to start using the word. And so when people would say, hey, Kristin, how are you doing? I just say, oh, I'm content. And soon my roommates start picking up, and they're like, oh, we're doing content. We're fine. And I'd say, Heather, you're ruining my contentment. Don't do that. And when I said that to her, she said, no, Kristin, I can't ruin your contentment. The only person that can ruin your contentment is you. And this is where your cookies come in. Cookies are like contentment, okay? There's different things that take bites out of your contentment. Okay, and so there's three things I decided that make up this cookie or make up this contentment. And they're the exact same things that Andrea said in her speech. It's being at peace with yourself, being at peace with God, and being at peace with others. And these are the different kind of ingredients that go into making contentment. And if you don't have one of these things, then you can't feel this feeling of contentment. And I didn't really realize this until this past week when I had an experience. And I got really frustrated with one of my friends, and we have a really close relationship, and we want the same goals and the same opinions. And all of a sudden he started thinking different things. All of a sudden we weren't working toward the same thing, and it was just very, very frustrating for me. And I remember sitting there right there and going, I am not content. This is not contentment. And it was because I wasn't feeling at peace with myself, because I was confused and I was frustrated. I was angry at him, and so I was not at peace with him. And because because there was this contention, I wasn't at peace with the Lord, because I was like, it just wasn't working out, and I was not feeling content. And so I think that the three things that make up contentment are being at peace with yourself, being at peace with the Lord, and being at peace with others. And you can't let anybody take bites out of your cookie. And if you follow these three steps, you can keep your cookie whole and round and be content.
Jason.
How many of you have heard the thunder outside?
Don't say that.
Well, good, because that was my stomach. It's been acting up all class. I don't know why. Probably because I'm somewhat ill-prepared for this speech, and I also failed the test earlier. But, build a better world, said God, and I answered, how? The world is such a vast place and so complicated now, and I'm small and useless. There's nothing I can do. And God in all his wisdom said, just build a better you. My word is thoughtfulness. Please allow me to share with you a dream I had. Rachel heard my talk in Sacrament, and I shared some of these ideas, so this is a repeat for her. I had a dream on my mission where I was a missionary, and I was visiting a school somewhere in the United States. And as I was walking through the halls, I noticed that there the students were acting up. They were fighting. There was backbiting, arguing. And a voice came to me and said, as long as people are acting this way, you'll never touch them. Well, as the dream progressed, the students became more and more violent and more disobedient, less and less thoughtful. And the voice came again to me and said, as long as people are acting this way, you'll never touch them. Well, by the end of the dream, the campus had turned into a battlefield. Students were armed with guns and knives. They were killing one another, literally. And the voice came a final time to me and said, as long as people are acting this way, you'll never touch them. This is a good example of, this taught me a lot on my mission, more in the field of obedience, but I wanted to tie that in with thoughtfulness. Thoughtfulness is something that comes from within. We all are thoughtful at times, and we're also victims of thoughtfulness. I shouldn't say victims, but we're the recipients of thoughtfulness oftentimes. Thoughtfulness is something I really haven't thought about much. Nevertheless, it's rather a thoughtful word. Word? Thoughtfulness to me is something more than a word. It's an idea, a principle, a concept, a belief. Grover Cleveland, our great president of the United States, said, men and times change, but principles never. It's something that comes from within the depth of one's heart and soul. It's more than a mere action. It's a conscious effort to fulfill the desires of one's unselfish heart. It's sending a card to a lonely grandmother. It's Brenda allowing us to study before an exam. Being our mom away from home, or possibly giving us all A's. Possibly. It's Jenny fixing the chairs before class, or pouring out her heart to us in her hero speech. It's Nelly giving out M&Ms, or teaching us how to brush our teeth. It's Rob giving us brownies during this how to get fatter talk. Or about government-funded insurance and how that would be more helpful to our society. It's Julie giving us resume hints, or telling us about her best friend. It's Kristin making sure I go to our Christ-like leadership seminar weekly, which I've missed a few times, or telling us how she admires Sister Art of Cap. It's David being spiritually minded all the time, as has been represented in each of his talks, or being the human easel. It's Jeff teaching us how to juggle, or persuading us a higher speed limit is needed. It's Tony breaking the monotony of our eulogies by being MC, quote, Reverend Hammer. Or teaching us how to lift weights. It's Rachel teaching us BYU lingo, or walking home with me every week after class. It's Rochelle showing us how to fold towels, or telling us that integrity should be the basis of our decisions rather than pride. It's Kristy teaching us how to read the stock exchange, or telling us about her favorite basketball player. It's Christine telling us how she gets nervous while speaking, or being being the only one who was concerned during our group project. The other two are probably what? She was very concerned about our group project. So was Nelly. Jeff was. Just kidding. It's Casey expressing her love for her family, especially her dad, or telling us how strongly she feels about capital punishment. It's Andrea telling us, treating her roommate, Casey, nice, and telling us she's concerned about the homeless, or about living in Egypt, and how much that meant to her. It's Jeffrey skipping class or leaving early. No. No, it's Jeff picking up his group for the project in his vehicle and bringing us to his apartment, and also teaching us how to tie a bow tie. I just want to let each of you know how grateful I am to, well, grateful is not my word. Well, let me close by saying it's me putting you in my talk. I just want to express my love, appreciation, gratitude for each of you. I feel a bond in this classroom like no other. And I am very thankful to have each of you as my friends. And I hope that we'll be able to continue our friendships for the rest of our lives. And I just want to close with a quote by Charles Sumner, which says, "I honor any man who in the conscious discharge of his duty dares to stand alone." I hope and pray that each of us will dare to stand alone in being thoughtful of others around us. Thank you very much.
I asked Brenda if I could be last because I was seeing how many people use my word in their speeches. But after the first three used it, and then I lost count because I didn't pay attention to listening for the word. I paid attention to speech. So, and that word would be understanding. And for a word that is used as much as it is, I mean, I'm sure we all use it at least once a day. That's a very common word. And when I got it, I thought, okay, that's easy. And then I started thinking about it, and I kept thinking about it, and I thought, I don't know what to say. It became really hard. Excuse me. So like just about everyone else, I went to Webster for help. And he said that understanding was intelligence, the ability to comprehend and judge, mutual agreement, and it also meant sympathetic. So that still didn't help me very much. And so I was talking to my friend last Monday, and I said, I don't know what to say about it. I said, what can I use about understanding? He said, why don't you try, using an analogy like relationships between men and women, and we decided that was completely contradictory. So we're not going to do that at all. Understanding deals with every facet of life, from math to science to relationships and religion. And so when I decided to take all these things apart, everything Webster said, this is what I came up with. Intelligence. This would include areas like math, science, and language. So like understanding, it's like we're understanding and working out problems scientifically, so everything fits. And then the ability to comprehend and judge. And this means comprehending a situation and making a judgment from that comprehension. Mutual agreement. This is usually between two people or groups of people, and it involves mutual agreement of the two parties. Sympathetic. This includes religion and relationships. And when we can find sympathy for others, that's when we're understanding them. And I think this is the most important part, because we can understand scientifically and all that, but that's not when the emotions and the heart is involved. And to me, understanding, when I think of understanding, that's what I think of as sympathy. Because if you really want to understand someone, you have to put their shoes on. It's like when we were watching the movie last night. You can't really know what something's like until you stand in his shoes. I think that's what Atticus said to his kids. And I thought about that. And so that's what I think understanding is. And so basically, before we make judgments, pass judgment on people, or come to conclusions on our own, we really have to stand in their shoes to see if we can really understand where they're coming from.
You really don't need to write it down, but I think you'd all like to know what my word was and what's happened to me. My word was alignment. What I wanted to do for myself was to create for me an alignment within me. So what I did is I took my mind and I went back to school and working on a master's degree and working on excelling in remembering and excelling in thinking, reasoning, and using my mind so that it would create everything in my body to bring it all together. For 8 weeks I've worked on my body. I have gone to a lecture called Lower Your Fat Thermostat. I've given up soft drink, caffeine, some sugars. I'll eat Lifesavers or hardtack candy. But what I wanted to do was create for myself a wholeness within my body to bring back that control. So eating whole wheat bread, tuna, tomatoes, cottage cheese, lettuce, that's what I wanted to create to bring back in a sense of wholeness within my body. My emotions, because of having such a different experience of going through a change in my eating habits and going through a change in my mind, my emotions are everywhere. I cry, I think, I feel, I am experiencing so much. With even a comment by Tony in class, I just could not get together what was happening inside of me. Nothing what Tony said, nothing that was going on, but the emotions within me. The emotions of what was happening and bringing my body back together. And then my heart says, I love you. I give to you an opportunity to be together and to bond. This brings alignment, okay? The deal is, you take this home and you work on your mind, your body, your emotions, and your heart. And when this happens, then all of a sudden, you're together, you're Christ-like, you're the spiritual person you need to be, you're the friend you need to be, you're the listening ear, you're the confidant, you are the friend, you're the lover, you're a parent, you're an educator, you're a teacher, you take on new challenges. My word was alignment. Thank you all very much for tonight, and especially those who made comments regarding the experience that you're having and those who were thinking the same experiences. I acknowledge you for both your verbal and your silent acknowledgement, because I feel that. And what I'd like to do is, if you would like, I'd like to make each one of you a videotape of what we've done tonight to have to you for your library, for your further experience. And so if by next week, if you'll bring a videotape, we'll get a tape made up for your speech experience. And then next time we'll do our impromptu. And then you have 2 weeks to think about what we've created in the classroom situation. And it's very important that you look back and you define and you use this for what we've done, okay? And then we'll go over it together for your final, and then you'll get to see your videotape. I think we should have a group hug right on video. Yeah, we can have that too.
Have your arms going in the middle, right? It's like I want to stand in the middle, yeah.
I think we should just go to the line.
And yeah, you should do like a double one.
Okay, two more. You got enough room? Yeah, we're gonna make room. Okay, everybody move in? Okay, thanks for tonight. Boy, it was wonderful. And what makes me so excited is you're really getting and accepting what I wanted you to participate in, and you created that, and I appreciate that. I didn't have to do any work. You guys got it and did it, and I appreciate it very much. So
Thank you, Brenda.
you're welcome. Thank you. Love every one of you too.
Yeah, let's do a double line, dude. So we can all get hugged. You know, like stand in the line and kind of rotate the line. Like,
You want to do a hug line?
Okay.
Okay. There we go.
I'm not getting this.
Thank you.
Oh, who's that? Love each other. No, you are, Jane. Like, because Artie have this coming to the Thursday, so you have to.
Right.
I'm still calling the line around.
Very much. I love you. Thank
I know, I realize that.
Thank you, Robbie.
Here, I'll go.
I like that idea.
I wish I could have been that.
Now, who wants to go home?
Let's just have a party. Yeah.
I got 2 apples.
We should have a pizza party or something next time.
Who wants to need it?
No one can jump at it.
Everyone, I love everybody. Yeah.
See you next week.
Okay, see you then.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, all right.
And thank you guys for talking about this today when I was like,
Okay, but I'm going to. Okay, see you later. Okay, see you. Hey, I didn't like you.